Welcome to The Real Deal with Kim Hollingshead. I am your host, Kim. It's right here on Super Talk 99.7 FM, WTN in Nashville, Tennessee. We will be airing every Saturday from 9 to 10 p.m. You may recognize my voice from the Tanya Esquivel Real Estate Show. We have been on there for a few years now, and I'm sure that we'll have Tanya here on this program at some point. Tanya is an absolute legend in real estate and in mortgages, and absolutely thrilled to continue to work with Tanya on, to bring you guys more and more programming. Who am I? I'm a real estate attorney. I've been practicing real estate for almost 20 years here in Middle Tennessee. My practice is primarily around title and escrow. So I am in the trenches every single day practicing, and really just an expert on all things mortgages, title, real estate, financial, and legal, of course. We have you've been on Super Talk now for a few years, and what I've noticed is that the programming here on this station is impeccable. What you have are experts who really know their field, whether it's financial, tax, mortgages, real estate, and we all kind of share the same core values, which is that we really believe in educating and informing the public so that you guys can make the best financial decisions for your life. I really take compliance and ethics very, very seriously. To me, it's all about being as authentic as I can possibly be, which is the reason why this show is called The Real Deal, because we want to keep it real here. My business as a title and escrow attorney, it's really primarily B2B, meaning business to business. My referral sources, they are realtors, commercial bankers, obviously mortgage loan officers. Also, other attorneys refer me business, accountants, financial advisors. And so I am not trying to sell you anything. There's no incentive here for me as a speaking to consumers to try to pitch something out to you. So you're never going to listen to this program and feel like you're listening to a sales pitch for an hour. That is not what we're here to do. It's really going to boil down to, us entering into this next phase with AI and all the technology that's coming out, sort of with as much information at our fingertips, at the ready as much as possible. I want to share with you guys a little story to kind of illustrate this purpose that I have of doing this show and really what the idea behind it is all about. My father is 77 years old. Well, he will be turning 77 here in a few days, and I'm so proud of him. My dad he was raised on a farm, actually in a one-room farmhouse, and he actually went to a one-room school when he was little. It was one of those where all of the grades were kind of all in one room with one teacher, like out of like a little house on the prairie or something. And then they moved to New Mexico, and my dad was raised by bakers and grocery store clerks. They're pretty rough and tumble kind of Texans, sort of Westerners is what I say. Like my dad's like a real deal cowboy, He was boxing when he was 14 and has served in the military for over 20 years, is retired chief warrant officer. And when he retired, he actually went into further government service and worked for the U.S. Missile and Space Command, working on ballistic missile defense. So thank you to people like my dad for being able to do things like provide Israel with the Iron Dome. He worked on that project for many years and on other projects as well. Super smart guy, and raised us with a lot of integrity and to have a very, very strong moral code. I know exactly who I am and what I believe in. I'm very firm on that. I am a Christian, and so my faith in the Lord is very important to me, and I live my life by a code, right? Especially in my business, I take it very seriously in my personal practice. But anyway, so we were in my house. I'm kind of known amongst all of my friends as being somebody who hasn't watched television in probably 10 years. It's true. I don't know any new movie references. If you ask me about something on Netflix, I don't know. I am so sorry. It's actually kind of embarrassing for me most of the time because it makes me feel sort of nerdy and dorky that I am not in the culture, but it's just something that I've chosen to do, is to remain as pure as I can in my spirit. The reason for that is because I want to hear what the Holy Spirit has to say to me. And if I feel like my emotions are being yanked around through movies and videos and television shows and music, then I'm not really tuned in, right? So anyways, we're sitting there and my dad looks at the TV in my house and he goes, "Honey, you don't know how to turn that on, do you?" And I said, "No, I'm so sorry, sir. I would love, I can call a friend and he'll help me get it on, I'm sure." And he said, "No, that's not necessary. I just was sitting here thinking about the fact that, I remember when we got a TV." And I said, "Well, you mean when you guys got a TV for the first time?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "When I was a little boy, there was no TV. We just had radios." And I remember when we got a TV in my neighborhood, and he said, I'll share this part of the story with you guys. He said, "Your little Mamaw," who's my great-grandmother. He said, "Your little Mamaw and Granny Cutbirth," who was her mother. He said, they used to, when we got that TV, they would draw the curtains because they didn't want anybody to see what they were watching. And they would put it on. Their favorite programming was wrestling." I said, "Wrestling?" He was like, "Yeah, they loved it. They would sit on the sofa and dip snuff and watch wrestling. And their favorite wrestler was a man named Gorgeous George. And he would shake his head and his long hair would go all over the place." And he said, "Honey, this is before Elvis." So this must have been pretty risque for these wrestlers to probably be in some tiny leotards and wrestling on TV. But, it made me think about, number one, how great my father's generation is, that they remember a time before television and then moving forward that they actually were in high school when their friends started to go off to Vietnam War, and all of the things that they saw to begin life with such innocence. And then, you've got the Beatles and Elvis and all of this coming out on TV. And then just moving through this throughout their entire life, they have seen this loss of innocence. The thing is that there's never been a time, though, when they couldn't really tell if something that they saw on the television was real or not. But we are entering into this AI age where we can't tell anymore. I genuinely will ask people, is that real or is that an AI video? Because I don't know if that really is, President Trump saying that on the TV. I think we all kind of felt it a little bit in our spirit when we started to realize that they were lying to us about, President Biden's mental condition. And we all could see it for ourselves, but the gaslighting that took place around that was staggering. And you kind of saw this rebellion of the American people, like railing against that. Don't lie to us. Don't lie to us. Well, now with AI, we may not be able to tell. We already can't tell what a young lady really looks like versus what her TikTok filters make her look like. I can't tell if the video I'm watching is really a very large woman jumping off of jumping into a swimming pool or not. I can't tell. It looks amazing and good for her, but I can't tell if it's real. And so going into this next season of our lives, we're really going to have to develop a sense of discernment. That comes from having information. It comes from experience, which is something that, thank goodness that even people in my generation, we graduated high school and we didn't even have cell phones. So I'm in that last generation. That last class, I think, was 1998, and I'm in it. And, we're now, it makes me concerned for the young kids and just seeing how much pressure that they're under to try to navigate this world with everything being so public for them. And, who's really their friend and who's in it for the clout, all of this. But yeah, the information, the experience, the knowledge, when you look at a real $100 bill 100 times a day, as soon as somebody puts a counterfeit in front of you, you can just spot it. And that's what we want to provide for y'all on this show, is real, authentic information. that is going to give you the wisdom moving into this next season. Because here is the truth. The truth is that real estate is an investment, and like any investment, you can put your money into it and you can lose every penny that you put into it. You're not going to get a win on every single investment that you make. But what we can do is we can improve the chances. And I would say right here off the top of the show that you're always going to hear me make a distinction between the primary residence, which is the home that someone lives in, versus investment property. These are really two different, avenues of owning real estate, and they have two different purposes in our lives. I would encourage the listeners to consider the home that you live in to not be, quote, an investment. It is an investment. We know this. We're going to buy a home, and in 30 years, we're going to own it, and it's going to appreciate, and there's going to be a value there. But the home that you live in should really be purchased because it is your sanctuary. It is your touchstone. It is your safe place. It is where you are creative, where you spend your time with your family. It is like I say, it is the environment. It is the space in which you will live the majority of your life. And so it should not be purchased just as a part of an investment. We can make smart choices. There are better areas to buy than maybe other areas, better price points for you than other price points. And we can be smart about the way that we purchase a house. And we will talk about that here in our next segment. But it is not the same as buying a rental property that you're going to use for an Airbnb or for, a long-term rental if you want to become a landlord, or if you want to go into land development, if you want to be an investor. There are lots of avenues for you to go. We will explore every one of those avenues here on the program, but the home that you live in is a place to start. I really believe that homeownership is so important. It is the cornerstone of wealth. It is the cornerstone. It is very difficult for you to pull yourself out of the lower middle or the middle class if you do not own the home that you live in. And we will go over the numbers here at some point in this program of exactly why that is. But for right now, just take my word for it. Okay. Now look, when we come back from the break, we're going to jump right in to a real life example because we're going to keep it real here of a comparison between two different loans and how much it saved one buyer to utilize the down payment assistance programs. And that'll be us when we come back from the break right here on The Real Deal with Kim Hollingshead on Super Talk 99.7 WTN in Nashville. Okay, so welcome back to The Real Deal with Kim Hollingshead. I'm your host, Kim. I shared a little bit about you, a little bit about my family. You learned some things about me, my passion for this industry and why I'm doing this show. Doing it because I want to keep it real. I want to keep everything super authentic and share with you guys real life information so that you can make the best choices when it comes to real estate. When it comes to the home that you live in, many times, many people, they need help to buy their first home. I did for myself. I remember on my first home purchase that I needed to have down payment assistance. The down payment assistance I used is called, it's THDA funding, the Tennessee Department of Housing. So they helped me with a small second mortgage to help me with my down payment, but there are other options. So I want to compare these two loans for you guys, and y'all tell me which one is the better deal. I've got a house. These are two real closings that we closed on about 2 weeks ago. We actually closed them back to back. It was amazing. I said, oh my gosh, I have to go over this on the radio show. But we closed them back to back, and both buyers equally happy with their choices, and both of the realtors, fantastic realtors, okay? So happy that these homes are purchased in, one house was for $365 and the other house was $375, okay? the original list price on both of them was about the same. I want to say they were both originally listed for $370,000, which is why this makes it such a great example. Goes to show that you can, in fact, buy affordable housing in the city of Nashville because both of these homes were well within the city limits, not in a rough area either. Very, very nice homes. So both of them listed for about $370,000. First house, let's go over the numbers. Number one, $375,000 ended up being the purchase price. Wow, it was listed at $370,000 and they ended up buying it at $375,000. How did they close on a house for more? Okay, I'm going to explain that to you here in just a minute. Purchase price is $375,000. The loan was $360,750, and the interest rate is 5.625%. The mortgage payment, which is just the principal and interest, this is not including taxes, okay, or insurance, but just the principal and interest is $2,076. Their closing costs, the cash to close, was $88.26. Okay, so second loan, $365,000 was a purchase price, so they discounted it by $5,000. The loan amount was $346,000. It's a lower loan amount. The interest rate is 6.5%, so a higher interest rate. So we're comparing 5.625 to 6.5%. The mortgage payment was $2,191, so compare that to $2,076, and the cash to close was $17,783. Compare that to $88.26. Not only that, but the second house had mortgage insurance, so tack that onto it, of about $112 a month. So when you take into account the mortgage insurance and you add that in, the total payment, almost $2,300. So compare $2,076 was a monthly payment on the first loan versus $2,300, which is a monthly payment on the second loan. Interest rate is lower on the first one. The loan amount is higher. How is the payment lower? How is the interest rate lower? How is the cash to close so low? The reason is because of two things. Number one, the buyer of the first house, the reason that they paid $5,000 more than the list price is because they included an extra $5,000 in the seller credit. That realtor understood that they're going to need a full $11,250 for the seller credit. The seller was willing to go up to about $6,000. They had the buyer up the purchase price to bring the total amount of the seller credit to around $11,000. Now, the brilliant thing about it is that it doesn't make any difference to the seller. That's 6 or 1/2 dozen of the other for them. Okay, their bottom line is the same, but that extra money helped the buyer because they no longer have to bring that cash to close, and they spread that $5,000 across all 30 years of the loan. Not only that, but they also took advantage of a down payment assistance grant program that comes from Pinnacle Bank. Guys, the Housing Fund and Pinnacle Bank, number one, number two, best sources of down payment assistance. They got $15,000 in down payment assistance from Pinnacle Bank on this loan. So shout out to Pinnacle for that. And the people on the second loan, they only got a $5,000 seller credit. And what they did is they went to the seller and they negotiated. It's about the same seller credit as the people on the first loan. But the problem is that they did not get down payment assistance. What they actually ended up having to do was bring $17,783 to closing, and then on top of that, take out a small mortgage for the second of $8,000. So in order to even take out this mortgage for a lower loan amount, you'll have to remember that loan amount is about $14,000 lower. They ended up bringing to the table about $25,000 versus the people on the first loan only brought to the table $8,800. And not only that, they ended up buying, what is essentially the same purchase price for a home. They brought $8,800 to closing, and their monthly payment is only $2,076. So contrast that to about $25,000 to the cash to closing, and a monthly payment, you'll remember because they had mortgage insurance, about $2,300. Like, y'all, that is over $200 a month difference. We're talking $2,400 a year. And we're talking about not only that, but just all that cash that came out of the people's pockets. You guys, the reason why down payment assistance is so important, we just broke it down for you. When we come back from the break, we're going to go over, a couple of reasons why this works for people. And then also take into account, we're going to talk about something that is not real estate related, but is definitely divorce law related. We'll touch on that when we come back from the break. Okay, and welcome back to The Real Deal with Kim Hollingshead. I am your host, Kim. We just ran through a quick comparison between two different mortgage loans and how the down payment assistance program was able to help people buy that house. You guys, I don't know about you, but I remember my first home, I could have really used an extra like $15,000 cash in my pocket to buy that house. To me, the difference between a $2,100 and a $2,300 monthly payment was a big deal for me. That was like my electric bill. I mean, I would have really wanted to take advantage of that. So if you're not a homeowner, you've got to become a homeowner, okay? We want you to really start taking a look at getting your finances together, looking at programs like down payment assistance. You'd be surprised, you guys, like there are lots of programs where people can get into a house and not put any money down, where it's actually less money out of your pocket to purchase a home than it is for you to go and find a new rental because you don't have to put down any security deposit. So definitely take a look at it. If you're interested in, exploring your options and you want to be pointed in the right direction of somebody who can help you, give me a call. Phone number is 615-549-1933. Or you can email me at kim@therealdealradio.com. I am connected to so many different loan officers, so many different realtors, and all of them are able to assist you. And like I said, I've said this before and I'll say it again, that your loan officer, many of us don't have access to somebody who's able to assist us when it really comes to getting our finances together. Loan officers, they have seen it all, okay? They have seen the messiest of the messy, where people have lawsuits pending to get money. People are piecing together income from all different kind of sources of income. They've seen messy divorces. I mean, if you are actually in the middle of a divorce, you definitely want to talk to a loan officer because they can help you with that. But they're not here to judge you. They're here to help you, and they can actually put you on a program. They can say like, hey, we want you to pay this much money towards these 3 credit cards for this many months in a row. And if you do that, then your credit score is going to go up to here. And once your credit score hits this number, we're going to be able to qualify you for this. I've seen them do things like tell people to go get like a $500 credit card and just pay their electric bill using it for a few months in a row and pay it off at the end of the month. And that's enough credit for someone to be able to buy a house. I would never purchase a house without first talking to a loan officer and putting a game plan together for like the next 3 to 6 months of how you're going to get there. And like I said, there's no judgment. They are really there to help you be able to step into homeownership, which is so vitally important. And I can't say it enough. You're going to pay money to live somewhere. You might as well buy a house versus pay it to your landlord. Now, we're keeping it here real hard here on the show. It's really important to me that we're really real and authentic, and we're going to talk about some things that affect real life. I want to discuss something with y'all because October was Domestic Abuse Awareness Month. I know it's the 1st of November now, but the month of October was one where, a lot of people did a lot of contemplating. I saw a lot of people starting to make some moves in the month of October. And I want to just bring out and call out a couple of things here. Number one is that domestic abuse affects not only women, but it affects men at almost an equal rate. It's like 52% of women and 48% of men will find themselves in an abusive relationship at some point. We're talking emotional, psychological, physical, unfortunately, abuse. and legal abuse. I can tell you that personally, myself, I have seen this play out for men. So it's oftentimes minimized, unfortunately, that like because men are bigger physically, for the most part, that they can't be abused. And that's just not the case. I personally know somebody who has had his children taken away from him for years. For years, he did not see his children, and he had done absolutely nothing wrong. These were trumped up charges, and he was absolutely a victim of legal abuse. I have girlfriends who have been through this sort of thing. It's a very personal topic for myself. And so that's why it's important for me to share it with you. I want to say the reason why we're talking about it here on this show is because be on the lookout. Be on the lookout for your friends, for your sister, for your mom, for your brother. And, really the number one sign of abuse, that there is abuse present in a relationship is the financial control. Dave Ramsey actually has a fantastic video. It's online. You can find it on like YouTube where he talks about this. It's like something like over 95% of all abuse cases include some form of financial abuse. It is present almost 100% of the time. So it's something that you want to look out for. What does financial abuse look like? It looks like your partner taking your paycheck. They are controlling every single penny. You have to ask for permission to spend any money. Maybe they put you on an allowance. They either forbid you from working or they sabotage your work. That is a huge sign that you are in an abusive relationship. Rack up debt in your name. Military service members, unfortunately, I've seen this too many times where they go overseas and they come back and they have tens of thousands of dollars in debt racked up in their name because she's got a power of attorney or he's got a power of attorney for him. That happens all the time, unfortunately. And there is a punishment reward system set up with finances to the point where there is fear around even bringing the topic up. If this is an area in your relationship or someone's relationship that you know of, take a look at that more deeply. The financial abuse is intended to keep a partner trapped and isolated so that they cannot leave the relationship. Unfortunately, that is why a lot of this kind of abuse takes place. The second thing I want to say about this, there's going to be just a couple more points to make, but the second point to make is that there are divorce attorneys out there who specialize in domestic abuse. They are certified for it. If you are a victim, do not go to just any attorney. They may not be able to identify and understand what you are going through. There is, unfortunately, 78% of the time, victims are not believed or they are minimized as just relationship problems, and they're not. This is really serious business. Leaving an abusive relationship, it on average takes 7 attempts before a partner can make that leap to be able to even leave that relationship. And oftentimes it is almost always the most dangerous point in an abusive relationship is a point of separation. That is the highest rate of domestic physical violence and, unfortunately, homicide and suicide. So definitely you want to make a plan before you leave. The other point, the third point I want to make is this, that be patient with the people who are in these relationships. Just keep talking to them and listening. The abuse cycle itself, I won't go into it here on the show, but all I will say is that the abuse cycle itself is extremely powerful in keeping people tied into the relationship. So that's one of the reasons why it takes on average 7 attempts for somebody to leave. So be patient with them and encourage this. I'm going to encourage any listener who finds themselves in an abusive relationship to call the domestic abuse hotline. This is if you're a man or a woman. If you're not sure whether your relationship is abusive, give them a ring, go through it with them. They can help you with, like we're talking about at the top of the show, discernment, being able to discern whether or not this relationship is dangerous. and then they can help you put together a plan. Do not underestimate the danger if you're a man as well, because we've all seen the videos online, and we know the stories of the crazy ex-wife bashing in the ex-husband's car windows. Like I said, keeping the kids away, taking all of the money, and using a divorce as a way to humiliate their partner publicly, how to defame their partner. It can be extremely damaging psychologically and to your spirit. Now, also in honor of Domestic Abuse Awareness Month, I want to go over this with the listeners because this could really save some lives. It has saved lives, and I hope nobody ever finds themselves in this situation. But if you do, I want you guys to know. You can ask for Angela if you find yourself in a dangerous situation. This was developed in the UK, and it's something that we're bringing here to Tennessee. If you are in a dangerous situation, you are with someone and you don't want to be. If you are being trafficked, if you are being kidnapped, if there's a guy hitting on you at the bar and you don't feel comfortable with him, he is making you feel unsafe and he will not back off. You can say to the bartender, to a cashier, to a waiter, and certainly to a law enforcement officer, do not ever hesitate to ask for help there. All you have to say is, "Hi, is Angela here? Is Angela working?" Just ask for Angela. And the way that you can remember her name is just think of this, angel wings. That person that you're talking to could be your angel and be able to help you. Many bartenders in this city and waiters have been trained on this protocol. This is a law enforcement protocol. And again, if you look at this, look it up on YouTube or TikTok, and you will find video after video after video of people who have been saved, not just women, but children who have been saved. If you have little girls and little boys, definitely share this with them and practice the protocol. Ask for Angela. "Hi, is Angela here? Hi, is Angela working here tonight?" And they will know what that means. Okay? Now, when we come back from the break, we're going to wrap up with, my favorite current listing, which is brought to you guys by Frederick and Clark, and going to touch on a couple of other things. We're going to review a couple of the things that we brought up in the show that I wasn't able to quite touch on. And again, in honor of Domestic Abuse Awareness Month, if you find yourself in a dangerous relationship or you need help, call the Domestic Abuse Hotline. That phone number is 1-800-799-SAFE. That is SAFE, 799-SAFE. If you are in immediate danger, call 911. And if you don't forget that if you find yourself in a dangerous situation, all you have to do is walk up to someone and ask for Angela. When we come back from the break, we'll touch base. It is The Real Deal with Kim Hollingshead right here on Super Talk 99.7 FM. Okay, so welcome back to The Real Deal with Kim Hollingshead. I'm your host, Kim. I have a fantastic listing. I don't do this all the time, but for this week, I definitely want to share one with you guys. It's 1212 Germantown. This listing is brought to you by my friend Richard Courtney with Frederick and Clark Realty. Richard is an expert in all things the Beatles. He actually used to host a radio show about the Beatles, and he is such a cool dude. And he has this incredible listing opportunity. The list price is I want to say a hair over $6 million. But what makes this space so cool, and I went and visited it the other day, is that it has a garage door in the back and this really cool open space that goes out to this back kind of backyard that's fully paved, and it has a separate actually a separate garage. But this space is actually owned currently by a photographer. It's almost like a residential in the front, and then it has rooms upstairs, and then in the back it's this big open warehouse kind of a feel. It would be perfect for a restaurant for sure, because it's got the big door in the back. You can do deliveries, and it's so beautiful. It's in the historic district of Germantown, and it also has just cool little rooms. It would be great for a musician. anyone who has a band, anyone who's a photographer, because it's actually set up for photography, that would be just an incredible place. So definitely check it out. If you're interested in this listing, you can give me a call. It's 615-549-1933. You can email me at kim@therealdealradio.com, or just find Richard Courtney. I mean, you can find this listing. It's 1212 6th Avenue North in Germantown. It is a very, very cool space for anyone looking for kind of a unique place for like a restaurant, a bar, or like a musician who's looking for something. Okay, you guys. So we started off at the top of the show. We were talking about how I serve in the trenches every single day. Absolutely love what I do. It's real estate law, land development. I mean, I've literally closed thousands of real estate transactions. I absolutely love it. And, really passionate about homeownership, helping people step into that role. If you are currently renting, or if you haven't owned a home in a few years, I think it's like 3 years, and you can take advantage of first-time homebuyer programs, definitely give me a ring. And I do not personally do loans. I do not do, represent clients in real estate, but I can connect you to somebody who does. And I work with some of the best in the city. So give me a shout if you're interested in stepping into that. But having been somebody who has closed absolutely just thousands of transactions, and being able to, give you that insider scoop. We're here every Saturday, you guys, talking about this stuff. I would say I would much rather get advice from somebody who does the work every day versus trying to Google or ChatGPT for answers. I mean, we all know that ChatGPT hallucinates. I mean, you could ask it some, it actually has killed people because they have no way of knowing whether the information is true or not, and they just go into ChatGPT. ChatGPT is a language model. It is not God. It is not the end-all be-all expert on all things. It is a language tool. So it does search the internet, and then it brings back information. It's doing the best to discern what it is that you're wanting. But at the end of the day, you have to be able to make these decisions for yourself. So, when I started Hollingshead and Associates, really started it wanting to meet the very highest standards. I mean, I look back on it now, and it's kind of ridiculous that anybody gave me a title company at that point in time, because I had just graduated from law school. I had never even sat down at a closing table and closed anyone before me. I'd been in title working. I'd pretty much done every job in a title company at that point, had been in it for years already. But, it's just funny, like as a young attorney, that someone would give me a title company that I could go and just hang a shingle. So I've learned through the years, just through practice, of what works and what doesn't work, what is real, what isn't. And so I'm not here to give you guys any kind of gimmicks. There's no tricks. This is not a sales pitch. This is really to help you, because at the end of the day, real estate, it's a contact sport. That's what it is. You have to be able to put the very best team of people around you, because they're going to help you put together a winning strategy. They're going to help protect you. They will help you carry that ball over, the goal line. They're going to, be your team members to help you in this largest purchase and largest single investment that most people ever make. I always say to my staff, I say, if you're going to sell anything, why not sell the biggest, baddest product on the table? We could sell a pen. You can sell batteries. We can go out and sell a donut. If you go buy something at the store, 9 times out of 10, you don't even want a receipt for it, because it's just doesn't cost very much money. It's not very valuable, and it's fine, But when you're purchasing something like real estate, it is such a huge purchase, and mistakes will cost you tens of thousands of dollars. If you look at the example that we went over in the second segment, where if they had chosen to do a down payment assistance that they qualified for, they could have purchased a house for more money with a lower interest rate, less, like a third of the closing cost, cash to close, and a lower monthly payment. And also not having to pay any mortgage insurance, which is a huge win. And not pursuing that down payment assistance program costs those people so much money out of their pocket. But also, it's not anyone's fault that happens. It just basically boils down to just people don't have the information at hand. That's why I always say, like, real estate's a contact sport, and you've got to be able to surround yourself with those real estate professionals who really are going to be able to help you put together a winning strategy first. But yeah, I mean, you could make a mistake and it can cost a ton of money. Real estate, like I always say, it's just like any other investment out there. You're going to have wins and you're going to have losses. Most of the time, you're going to go into it, you're not going to make the deal of the century, but it's also not going to be the worst deal that anybody's ever had in their life either, But, it's really important that the work that we're doing here and educating the public and informing the public, I feel that it's really, really important. And I want to be somebody that you guys can come to, that you can trust. If you guys are closing a transaction with someone else and you're not really sure if what you're being told is correct, don't hesitate to give me a ring. I'll be glad to take a look at it, even if I'm not closing the thing. So, really just here to serve you guys as much as possible. We're going to be here every single Saturday from 9 to 10 p.m. talking about a wide range of topics. I mean, as you can see from the show tonight that we talked about all kinds of things. And, hopefully we're bringing on some experts that are going to keep you entertained and also informed at the same time. Because, hey, it's Saturday night. We're sitting around trying to maybe enjoy a glass of wine and, learn about something in a really relaxed setting helps us to be able to take the information in a much easier way than if it's not shoved down our throat and someone's screaming at us the whole time. That's not what we're trying to do here. Anyways, you guys, I hope to see you here next week. We're going to be here at the same place, the same time, and keep it real this week, you guys. Again, I'm Kim Hollingshead. This is A Real Deal on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I hope to see you here next week.